I tell people all the time that I was born in a pastor's state.
I would like to call this March 19th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Smith,
Present.
Councilmember Stallings,
Present.
Councilmember Marsh,
Here.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Here.
Councilmember Craig,
Here.
Councilmember Martin, Councilmember Sumner, Councilmember Meek, Councilmember Bogard,
Present.
Councilmember Velez,
Present.
Councilmember Bell, Councilmember Droud.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda, approval of minutes from the February 19th, 2026 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on. Next order of business, we have Heather Lancaster here from Sanctuary.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Willen. Thank you for the invitation and the warm welcome to be here this evening and speak more on Sanctuary, our local resource for those who've been affected by domestic violence and sexual abuse. I'm Heather Lancaster. I am the executive director at Sanctuary, and with me today are my colleagues and members of the board. Say hi, let them know you're here, for whom I could not do this very important work without. Needless to say, I feel very blessed and honored to work alongside these women, including countless others who believe in this work. They work behind the scenes, running our 24/7 public safety operation. They really are the best team. The courage to begin again. These just aren't words on a screen. These reflect real life decision-making in the midst of heartbreak, confusion, sacrifice. The courage to begin again is an incredible leap of faith that's taken each year by hundreds of survivors who want better for themselves and better for their children. In your packets, you'll see our 2025 year-end review. Those are your copies to keep. We have extra. Please take those and read those. Catch up on all the important work Sanctuary's done in the past year. On this next slide here, you'll see Sanctuary by the numbers. I won't read these data points to you. Instead, I will share with you, focus here on the number 15,467. That is the number of bed nights provided in the last year. Those numbers could never fully express or reflect the human experience behind those, because each bed night reflects a person in crisis met with compassion, safety, and support as they begin the very difficult healing journey ahead. Now, typically when I present, it is to talk more about data. It is to talk about staffing updates, maybe changes in legislation. But tonight, going outside of those lanes just a bit, I'd like to discuss information as it relates to the future and planning ahead for Sanctuary and the positive effects it will have on this many years to come. And by this, I mean the relocation. The first mention of a reimagined Sanctuary came well before today. It came in 2022 at our 40-year anniversary celebrations dinner, where leadership shared the vision to address long-standing concerns that remain today. The first of these concerns is and continues to be the safety, and the confidentiality of the services provided by Sanctuary. For many, we exist to be a structure of safety that includes the inside, but also the immediate area where we are located. And not that we don't do the best where we are in the current setup that we're in, but I think we'll agree that 4 stop signs at every 4 corners of our building, surrounded by public streets and access to our building, and no private parking, is a significant deterrent to our privacy practices. Secondly, the building that we own, 1800s model, she continues to age. And with the 24/7 usage, the wear and tear of our building, sheltering multiple families at once, combined with the age of it, you can imagine the maintenance and the repair, the costs associated with those. We are state and federally funded predominantly, but I think even utilizing those funds in those ways certainly isn't the most efficient approach. Lastly, limited green space. It translates to limited space for recovery and healing. Our bodies need green space. We need fresh air. Research tells us this feeds our endorphins, which fosters mood improvement. Not to mention the play areas, the recreational sites for our children that we serve, our smallest survivors, who need an outlet and a distraction from the abuse that they've experienced over the years. So now I want to show you a few slides that tell you what our clients say they experience when they receive services at Sanctuary. Now, what we can gather from both of these slides here are expressions of both gratefulness, but also overwhelming feelings of fear, simply based on the geographical location where our emergency shelter is located. In my experience over the past 8 years working at Sanctuary, there have been numerous reports, and I know staff can also attest to this, reports when people flee their homes and they retreat for safety, they sometimes feel stuck. They feel unable to move freely in their escape from abuse. Stalking is a crime. It's a serious crime in Kentucky, and many downplay its severity, but it can be the first indicator before physical harm is caused. If you don't already know, please understand that a police officer's response to domestic violence is one of the most dangerous calls an officer can receive. Due to heightened emotions, coupled that with weapons and physical violence, situations can turn deadly. In our journey to relocation, the input for this process has been critical. Received from partnerships with local law enforcement. Both Chief Newby and Sheriff DeArmond both emphasized the need for sanctuary services, along with a facility which supports and protects survivors, but also those in the line of duty, those being transported. They expressed support for a new location and enhanced safety infrastructures and a controlled entrance and parking to our building. Reimagining Sanctuary has required thoughtful considerations and strategy. And in our efforts to find a solution for concerns mentioned just earlier, a number of options have been explored in making this vision for relocation possible. These include the facilitation and completion of a feasibility study, observation of various shelter models across the state to know what works, what doesn't work, researching, securing an architect who could bring our vision to life, the exploration of financing options because it is important to know how we will pay for this new building. We are so pleased to share with you today that in our concerted search efforts for Sanctuary's new location, working tirelessly over the past 4 years, a land purchase was approved by the Sanctuary Board of Directors last March. We bought this debt-free. this is Sanctuary's land. Throughout this search, we adhered to budget. We vetted many sites, some for sale, some not for sale, but sites that would allow proximity to green space, healthcare, grocery stores, schools, public transportation, employment options, and so much more. Additionally, it was an attractive find to learn that underground utilities were in place. If you've ever done a construction project of any kind, you know this is a significant cost and the time it consumes. Lastly and safely, I want to share here that Sanctuary's land purchase is located just outside of city limits, and I'll defer any questions about specific property and location in a more private setting. So now we invite you to take a look into the new and improved shelter space for those we will continue to serve. Not the bells and whistles, but a location and a building that will keep human dignity at the forefront. A few of our new facility features will include an ADA one-level compliant building for survivors who may have mobility issues. This will be a one-story building. It'll come with utility and energy savings, both smaller and larger rooms to accommodate various family sizes we serve, a designated parking space for clients, staff, visitors, and a security arm at the entrance, increased green space for children, but also for their pets. Also, expansion possibilities on either side of the building. So if down the road, should we need to explore growing this facility, there will be capability to do so. A children's group room, playroom areas, which will additionally serve as a designated storm shelter. Separate wings for residential and non-residential clients, and an on-site sexual assault forensics exam room. So you're aware that there probably by now you've seen there is an animation video of Sanctuary, and while I choose not to show that here tonight, there are some handouts where you can see rooms inside the building, and should you be interested in following up with me after tonight's meeting, I'd love to share with you that video and what that entails. Goals of the reimagined shelter include enhanced safety and security, a healing environment, child-centered spaces, empowered staff, and of course, building efficiency. Some of our next steps in this process include the selection of a construction management services. We did receive 6 bids, and our executive committee is reviewing those, and those will be considered by the board of directors sometime in the next few months. We're also pending a USDA loan package. We submitted this application and are waiting to hear what loan package we will be provided in order to make this possible for financing. And while we're working out these logistics, I want to share that this is not an announcement for a public capital campaign. But when the time comes, we do hope that we can call on our community for the support. We hope to call on our faithful friends. All of this to say, I understand the topic of domestic violence is a sensitive one, but it is a prevalent one. If not you, I'm sure people you know have been affected by domestic violence. It happens in 1 in 3 individuals. This is a topic in need of discussion, and I am happy to continue the discussion beyond tonight, but I hope that tonight just brought you some education and awareness in Sanctuary's progression, relocation, and how you might be an advocate for this very important work. At this time, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Council members, there is a sign-up sheet for us to meet with Heather and view the video of their prospective building. If you are interested in that, there are several slots available. Sign up before you leave so I can give it back to Heather.
If you're not aware, we also serve 9 counties of the Penny Ryle region, not just Christian County. And I can tell you I've made visits with governmental city officials across the 9 counties since November and have made great progress in those meetings and sharing our vision for relocation. It seems to be very supported. Of course, this is too early to know what financial support might be provided. But I think it's worth sharing that we are getting the other counties that we serve involved as well.
So do you have a time frame on this yet, or is it still too early?
So we did lease the land through the end of this year for farming purposes.
Okay.
So it won't be this year. We're looking, the earliest we could start would be spring of 2027 to break ground.
Okay, thanks.
Any other
I
questions?
don't know if I have a question for you so much, but I kind of have an idea where it's going in the future for the partnership. And I just want to go ahead and ask Doug, and I'm sure it's been asked of you, but I want to get it out there. Is there any problem if the time comes and we are having a conversation of using city funds for something outside the city? Is that an issue?
No.
I want to make sure.
Thank you.
A question that I have that kind of piggybacks off of Mr. Renner's is, would it be possible to consider annexation into the city at the location that it is in?
Yes, anytime you hook up utilities, there is an agreement for annexation, so that would have to come, but it would be after our loan is secured.
Okay. Sure that was thought of.
That's great questions.
Are there any other questions? Okay. I would like to make a motion to bring this to a future council meeting in May, just so that Heather can come back and present to a actual council meeting, and we can consider possible financial support and just discuss our options. And, you know, if there's any changes, you'll have a chance to give us updates. I personally believe that Sanctuary is an absolutely incredible resource for us to have, and seeing those numbers breaks my heart. 15,000 people, 15,000 nights, I'm sorry. That's a lot of nights. There's only 365 in a year. So anyways, so motion.
Second.
All in favor?
What are we,
Okay, we're motioning to send it to council in May.
just to send the conversation to council?
The conversation, yes. Discussion?
Because there's no request right now.
No.
Council, or do we just
What are we?
Well,
continue? the
there's another
conversation?
option. If you want to just continue the conversation, you can ask that it be put on the agenda at the next committee of the whole meeting to have those discussions before you forward it to council for action.
Okay.
If there's not going to be an
Makes
actual
more sense.
request.
Okay,
The
then
next,
that works, if that works
or
for,
in May, I mean, if you're thinking, she might need a little more time than April, so maybe May.
I was thinking May.
Heather, if you don't mind me asking, when are you going to come to us for the money? I mean, for me, that's what this is setting up. So I want to know so we can kind of get this on the right page, where we need to be, so we can hear those discussions and decide what we need to do. You know where I'm at. I'm all on board for whatever the sanctuary.
Yes, thank
Seen
you
it
for
over
your
20-something
support.
years, the impact it has here and the work it does. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me. I just want to know when this timeline is going to happen.
I'm not sure when the timeline is for this council in consideration for budget requests is outside of Hoptown Helps. I am aware of Hoptown Helps, and I would like to ask you, what does that timeframe look like for you that you need to hear requests so that a decision can be
Uptown
made before the
Helps
budget
thing
is
may be a
finalized?
problem because it's outside the city limits right now, the way that ordinance, particularly for that program, is written, if I'm not mistaken. That could be problematic for that particular program.
Yeah, but I mean, they're still clearly in the city right now, so Hoptown Helps would be helping them currently, correct? Is that what you're thinking?
Correct. However, yes, the funds would be for capital, so it wouldn't fall in.
So
that.
that's
Well,
like separate.
Let's do this. Let me and Ms. Lancaster set a date for committee of the whole, and we get it together and get it on the business list for May or June, so we can be talking about this, so we can get this together for them. Okay? Because the question is, and it really boils down to, what's the dollar sign?
What's the dollar? Where's it come from?
Yeah, where's it gonna come from? And that's what we gotta know, because spend most of the day on budget. I know, so that's the reason I said, me and you need to sit down and talk, and we'll sit down and set up the time, and that way we can give them the information they're gonna be asking
I
too.
might just ask the chair, I think, all of us are supportive of your ministry and your mission. We're thankful for the great work that you're doing. And, I see that you're already a recipient of Hoptown Helps money. So, that's, we're already showing our support there. So whatever the action is, but we want you to know we're supportive of you.
Yes, and thank you. And thank you for continuing the conversations that we started back in November
Yes, ma'am.
and that we wanted to bring to your attention tonight just so that we could continue the conversation, and it sounds like we will. And I'm looking forward to those of you that are interested in meeting outside of tonight's meeting and showing the video and asking what other questions are burning. We're glad to do that and take you on a current tour of the sanctuary building.
Please see the video. It helps a lot.
Yes.
I'm going to withdraw that motion and just ask that it be put on the business list. We good? Okay. Thank you so much, Heather.
Yes. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Did you want to announce that?
You have this information in your packets. This is just the last screen that we landed on here. But yeah, bring to your attention, we do have Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month activities planned for the month of April. We hope that you'll want to be involved and engaged like you are every year. And if you have any questions about the events, just feel free to contact me. We do have Elizabeth Smart coming to Hopkinsville at the end of April. We did post those tickets. We had 300 free, 200 paid just to help cover the cost of the venue. We would be in. They went incredibly fast. We may reopen sales, but we're having conversations on what that looks like. I would like to invite council to be our guests for this event. So if you are interested, we can also have that conversation. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Moving on, I would like to call on Melissa Clayton and Lauren Carr to speak on the opioid settlement funds.
As we go there, could we also ask for someone in the city to make sure that we're notified in our email when that's going to be? Really appreciate it. Thank
You
you.
will be notified.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you guys for allowing me to present to you tonight on the opioid settlement funds. I'm super excited to share what we've been working on and what we've been doing. So let me just start. Tonight, I'm going to cover the basics. I'm going to cover eligible uses. I'm going to talk about how we have responded as a city and then open it up for discussion. So this is kind of where we're going tonight. And so I'm going to start with the basics. What are the national opioid settlements? So this is a series of legal agreements where opioid manufacturers and distributors are being held responsible for their role in exacerbating the opioid crisis. They are paying billions of dollars to resolve lawsuits with state and local governments. So the lawsuits are with the state and local governments. So I'm going to go over the state of Kentucky's response a little bit because it directly affects how we have responded as a city. So the state of Kentucky is scheduled to receive well over $980 million over the course of several years, with an emphasis on supporting the communities that are impacted by this epidemic. They set up through a series of litigation, House bills and Senate bills that were passed, of the Kentucky Opioid Abatement Advisory Committee. And that committee is kind of guiding us with how to spend these funds, what these funds are to be used for, and so on. So they are putting out and putting together trainings for us and things of how the money can be spent and what it can be spent on. So of the $1 billion that the state is going to receive, they have set up through their laws that they passed, they are keeping 50% of it at the state level, and we can apply for grants for that 50%. And they are also pushing out a lot of campaigns related to the money as well. And then 50% of the money is going to local governments, cities and counties. So before I go much further, I want to define what opioid remediation is because it's talked about a lot, and I just feel like we need a definition. So it is the care, treatment, and other programs and expenditures designed to address the misuse and or disordered use of opioids. So when you hear people talk about opioid addiction, they talk about the misuse, they talk about, the disordered use of opioids. You hear it a lot when people are discussing this topic. Number two, it is to treat or mitigate opioid use related to disorders. And then the last thing is to mitigate other alleged effects, including those injured as a result of the opioid epidemic. So think kids here, people who get injured because of this epidemic, and so forth. So the state came out with laws, and they're in the KRS. And I didn't give you guys KRS 15.291, but I did lay on your table Exhibit E. Exhibit E is a condensed version, if you guys want to get it out, of what the money can be spent on. Okay, that's a little light reading for y'all to take home. Read it if you want to, if you don't. But we have had to become familiar with what is in that. I want you guys to know that I have been through probably 12 trainings on opioids since its inception. And I'm going to start with my first training in a little bit when I talk about our response as a city. But I've sat through a lot of trainings on this stuff. So Exhibit E, there's also a great resource on the internet if you guys want to ever go and look at the state's response. I've listed this website here. You can go to kyoaac.kentucky.gov/resources to look up all these resources I'm going to talk about tonight. All right, so let's get into KRS 15.291 and Exhibit E, and I'm going to talk about the allowable uses. The allowable uses are split into 5 categories: prevention, recovery supports, harm reduction, treatment, and then leadership, planning, and coordination. Give you an idea of what's in Exhibit. Prevention refers to things such as media campaigns or school or youth-based programs. It's getting the word out about opioid use and how we prevent that from starting in kids and younger people, okay? Kentucky has an initiative called Unshame Kentucky, and it's on the website I mentioned earlier, so if you guys want to learn more about that, feel free to go there and learn about it. The next one is recovery supports. And recovery supports is supportive housing and wraparound services, which you heard some about on Tuesday from some of our great ministries that we have here in our city. Kentucky also has an initiative for recovery supports. It's called Recover Kentucky. It's on that website again, and it's got a lot of great resources out there. Harm reduction. Harm reduction is syringe service programs. It's also Narcan, yeah, distribution. I do math, y'all. I'll just say Narcan, okay? Narcan, we can purchase Narcan with it. If you're reading Exhibit E, that's the very first thing we can buy with this is we can buy Narcan with it. And you can go on the Kentucky website again, find that right now as a Kentucky resource. The fourth one is treatment. This is medication for opioid use disorder or access to treatment. The initiative associated with this at the state level is the Office of Drug Control Policy Kentucky, and again, on the website. And then leadership, planning, and coordination, that is training and research. This is the hardest one to come up with things at the city level that we might do in this area, but that's one of the uses also allowed in there. So that's the basics of the allowable uses. Now I'm going to get into our response. So what have we been doing? The first thing that had to happen was we had to pass an opioid abatement allocation agreement. That happened in 2021. Municipal Order 44, 2021. If you guys want that, it is a 41-page document that I'd be happy to send you, that I believe Doug crafted, or maybe I'm not sure where it all came from. But here's a little screenshot of the very first thing related to this legislation that we had to do. We pretty much had to declare that it was an epidemic here and that it was a problem for the city of Hopkinsville and that we wanted to participate in the lawsuits, okay? So we had to pass that in order to join the lawsuits, and we did, and all of that happened back in 2021. The next thing that had to happen, we had to get registered with the law, I might should have put the other slide before this one. We had to get registered. That happened, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. In November of 2022, we were required to open a separate bank account in which to house this money. So we did that also in November of 2022. And then, as was mentioned Tuesday, we did receive our first settlement in December of 2022. So the very first training I went to about this was KLC training on February 15th in 2023. And this was all related to the very first lawsuit that was coming out and what the legal requirements were. So it was a structured settlement that the administrator was Brown Greer, and it was required for us to register with them before we could get any money. So when I talk about us having to register, there were things that Doug and I had to do in order to get us set up to receive this money. So it just didn't come to us automatically. There were things and steps that had to be in place. And so we were encouraged then. We had already registered when I went to this training, so we already had everything, but there were still cities in Kentucky who had not. So they were talking a lot about this. This is one of the slides from that training. I have all the slides from my training too. If y'all want to see any of the trainings I've been to, I'm happy to share those with y'all. So a question I get a lot is, how much are we going to receive? And so there's a big long list of all the cities and counties, and here we are right there. I highlighted us for you. We get 0.56626861660% of the 50 million, the $500 million. So that works out to about $2.8 million over 20 years. Okay, so over a long time. So when are we going to get the money? Well, we got our first deposit in 2022, and those deposits from that first lawsuit are going to continue to come in over the next 18 years. The first deposit we got was really a 3-year deposit. Like, I think in the lawsuit, the companies that were in that first lawsuit, Johnson & Johnson, were required to pay out in the lawsuit, I think, 3 years worth of what they owed us, or what they owed everybody. And so it was a bigger payment than what we were going to get in the future. But each lawsuit is different, and I can't say that enough. The payments come in related to the lawsuits and related to the legal agreements that they sign when the lawsuits are done. And Doug probably can tell y'all a whole lot more about that side of things than I can. I will tell you, we got a notice this week that another one is coming through. I don't know if you want to say anything about that. We'll probably be bringing another lawsuit to y'all in the next month or so that we have to assign. Every time we get one of those, we have to bring it back to council, and you guys have to agree for us to get part of this money. So every lawsuit is different. All right. This also came out of my January 2023 things, is that monies expended contrary to the restrictions can result in the distributor challenging the settlement, not only for us, but for every other person who got these funds. So these funds are highly restrictive. They're highly restricted, and there is a lot of accountability and a lot of reporting that goes into these funds. So we have to be very, very careful with how they are spent. So let's talk about our fund balance. Councilmember Martin, who's not here tonight, did ask me to go over each year with you and how much we had received. So the first year, I just started with fiscal year 22-23. We started the year with no money in this account. We collected the one payment we got in December, which was $222,282. We are earning interest on it. I will let you guys know that the interest also must be spent on opioid remediation. It cannot be, we can't pull the interest off and spend it on anything else. Any interest earned on this money is also related to the lawsuits, and it is also highly restricted. So we ended the year, June 30, 2023, with $227,802 in the bank. So that's what we started the next year with. We had settlement claims the second year of $231,246. Interest amount also there. We ended the year with $475,364. So that was our beginning balance for the year 2024. Last year, we only received $118,076. Our interests, we're getting a pretty good interest, right? Interest rates were high. They're going down. We're not getting as much interest this year, I'll just warn you. So this year, we started the year with $621,000. Our settlement payments are $88,947, and our interest is $19,585. So there's been a number floating around. It's an incorrect number. We currently have $729,673 in the bank related to the opioids epidemic, our funds, whatever. So let me talk a little bit about my last conference, my last training I went to. I went to the Governor's Local Issues Conference in August last year, and I got to hear Lauren Carr, who's with us tonight, and I'm super excited she's here. And her presentation kind of like, I wasn't the only one in the room. Just, I'll let you know, Chief Newby was also in the room and Deputy Chief Ferguson. And after her presentation, it started conversations among us of what is the biggest problems in Hopkinsville and how can we use this money? Because this crisis affects all of us. We all know somebody who has been addicted, somebody who, if it's not a family member, then we have friends. Like, this affects all of us. And so just starting those conversations was great. We went to the mayor when we got back. We asked him if we could set up a team and we could start meeting and talking about this. And he agreed. And so we started meeting. We started with the first responders. I know that on Tuesday they talked about, that they're average of 5 people a week. Who do you think responds to those calls when it comes in? It's the people on the front lines, y'all. They are the first responders. They are the ones that show up. So we started with them. We met with them. We were looking at the needs of the city departments. What do our departments need to fight this epidemic? And so we started having those conversations. We started in September. But not only that, when I was at Lauren's presentation in August, she talked about applying for a grant. And I'm getting ahead of myself. So the first meeting's in September. We decided at one of our meetings we were going to apply for one of the state grants. And so we were looking at all the options that Chief Newby had brought and Chief Futrell had brought items. And we decided that the item we would apply for, we can only make one application a year. And so Chief Futrell had brought the idea of a mobile medical unit to the team. And so we decided to take this idea and apply for the grant. I gave you a little bit of information about the grant. The notice of funding came out October 1st. The application window was October through December. And then the award decision is going to happen next month, which we're still waiting on. But we did get our application filed kind of last minute, but we still got it in. We applied for a grant through the 50% that the state has. So I want you guys to know we've been working, okay? Also coming up as part of the budget process, you guys will adoption of the first budget. We must come through council. And so we are bringing to you guys through the budget process this year a plan of what's going to be, how to spend this money. And so the things that are in this year's budget right now, we are not done. We are still in the planning phases of the budget. So HPD is asking for an opioid officer. They are asking for spectrometers and Narcan. And then the fire department, we have the mobile medical unit on here and Narcan. I want to talk a little bit, or maybe it's spectrometer, spectrometer, I don't know. Yeah, again, do math. What those are is a handheld, it's utilized by first responders, and it kind of will tell them what is in, like if they come across, they've asked for two. They want two of them. One will be out on the road and the other one back at the office. But it kind of tells them what's in a pile of drugs. So if they like come across, they're doing a drug bust, or I'm probably getting this all wrong, Chief. If they come across a drug bust or a bag of drugs, they can scan the drugs and see what's in it. So it's safety for our officers. And I have asked them to kind of like back me up. For the mobile medical unit, again, I put in here two pictures, one from the top view and still the side view, because if we don't get the grant, we are probably going to put this in our budget request.
Your question, Melissa.
Yes,
So just to clarify, so the grant would come from the state money, not from the money that we have sitting in our pool if we get it.
that's correct.
Okay, just making sure I understood that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I want to go back to the 5 allowable uses: prevention, recovery supports, harm reduction, treatment, leadership, planning, coordination. And in our budget request, we are coming with 3 of those. Prevention is the opioid officer. The treatment is the mobile medical unit that can go out into our neighborhoods that don't have access to health care and help people. And then the harm reduction is the spectrometers and the Narcan. Those are items we currently have in the budget. Like I said, we're not done, but that's what we currently have. Let me talk a little bit about recovery supports, because it was a topic Tuesday. We had lots of comments, y'all. We would love to sit down with the people who do recovery in our community. We are very open. The opioid team is very open to listening to them and their requests. Our plan was to do all 5 of these, but I'm not sure how we're going to do leadership, planning, and coordination yet. But the 4 for sure. We want to be able to use this money the way it's intended, and we have been working, and I know it's been out there that maybe we have not. Why did it take us so long to get here? I will tell you that when state legislation first comes down, the very first year, y'all's faces are as red as mine. The very first year that it happens, we know that the state is going to follow back up the next year with guidelines and things underneath, and sometimes it is 2 or 3 years before the state really gives us guidance on a piece of legislation that they have passed. And we, with the restrictions on this money, did not want to spend one dime of it the wrong way. So we have been very careful with how it is spent, and we're going to continue to be very careful. When I talk about the reporting and I talk about the accountability, I have to get on every year and certify that the money that has been spent, which y'all saw we haven't spent anything yet, has been spent according to all the lawsuits. I have to solemnly swear that it has been spent correctly and only for opioid remediation. It can't be any other type of drug. It is very restrictive, and each lawsuit is different. Now, I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have or open the floor for discussion. But thank you for letting me present.
First off, Melissa, thank you. I think well done. You said that with this lawsuit, the state had 50% of the dollars, and then all of the different cities and others did. And then I thought what I understood was cities could apply for grants. Okay. With all of the different service providers that expressed interest the other day, is there a way for them to apply for?
Was given to state, to local governments. The lawsuits were brought by the So if we wanted to next year take our one grant applications and use it to apply at the state level with one of our recovery communities, we could totally do that, but they have to go through us.
Okay,
So the grant application has to come from the city.
okay. So during your discussions that you all most likely will be having with other people that are interested, that could be a topic of conversation and maybe assist if that's the direction that this group wants to go.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Question.
Yep.
Again, thank you. This is awesome. I remember when all this came out, and so it's kind of exciting to see it kind of moving forward. My question is, what can we do as a council now? I mean, is there anything that we can do to help this process move forward, or is this more just informative?
Mayor?
Yeah. Well, what we can do is, we're hoping that we get the grant for the medical piece, but we are going to open it up once we get through. We were going to talk about it some more next week, because me and Doug talked about some today, again, in legal review. But how we could open it up with a committee, who gets what money, and how council wants to get it.
Kind of like a Hoptown Helps type of thing?
Similar, yes, ma'am. Similar
Okay.
to a Hoptown Helps piece is what it will be like. We will look and talk to the agencies, because, we had a great group in here the other night on Tuesday night, done great. They're behind me right now. But, and most of them are here tonight, so we do need to look at them and say, okay, we're going to get you an application to fill out. Me and Doug's talked about that, how we're going to do an application, get that set up so they can fill it out. Look at it. With that, the committee and a few council members will sit down and look at them, pick who gets what, and we go from there.
I am only anticipating about $100,000 a year right now, depending on what other lawsuits come out or, so forth. Y'all saw what we were getting per year. It's about $100,000 a year we're talking about.
But once I get the application filled out, Doug, and made it formed and ready to go, because I've reached out to other cities asking what they've done on theirs and what forms they have. So I've even talked to Jerry, and Jerry's given me a copy of his too.
Okay.
Over at the county.
Because if I remember correctly, one of the reasons, that we have not spent any money as of yet is because there's kind of that fear. We don't want to do wrong, right?
Right, exactly.
And so if we're looking at these different treatment facilities, I guess my other question is, how do we separate opioids from other drugs? I mean, how can we do this and follow the guidelines? Is that the concern?
It is the concern when we start going with a subrecipient. So
Okay.
with a subrecipient, and Doug and I have talked just a minute time about it, but with a subrecipient, they're going to have to tell us, because pretty much what you're doing when you give to a subrecipient is they're going to have to come back and report, because I have to report and I have to solemnly swear. So they're going to have to come back and report how they spend it, and they're going to have to get approval somehow from their people that they can share, the opioid use disorder statistics, or not names, but maybe numbers of how many people they've helped, and that kind of thing. There's a lot and it's complicated with a subrecipient, and I'm going to rely on Doug, knowing the legal agreements, because he has to read all these legal agreements whenever they come out. I don't read them all. I read parts of them, but Doug, he reads them all and keeps me straight. So
And Ms.
It's
Carr
okay.
can help us on some.
I'm glad you've said that Doug's looking into it, because what I've seen suggests we can't do that. That's where I was concerned. I'm kind of
Right.
confused.
That we can't do what?
Health
Can't
treatment
have
facilities.
that outside agency like
No,
that,
we-
that's not a quasi-government or something.
Well, and that's the issue right now. We have to look into it and see what other cities are doing, what is appropriate. But I would anticipate we have an application process with guidelines, parameters, that any applicant will fall within those guidelines, so we can make sure that all the boxes are checked before we enter into a grant agreement. And that agreement is going to specify exactly how it can be spent, along with the auditing follow-up. There's going to be a lot of that. So this is going to be very time intensive for city staff on following up for all of this. So all of that has to be done before we can give the first dollar away. That's why we're still in the very early stages of this. And I anticipate from talking with my city council friends throughout the state, we're going to be working together with other cities on how not to step in it in this process.
Okay.
But we're trying to expedite it as much as we can.
So do we currently have a board? Because I noticed the last meeting, you said that we have a board. And I know the mayor now saying that we need to get together a committee.
We're kind of we're calling ourselves the opioid team. When we have a meeting, it's your department head, it's the mayor, it's Troy, it's Doug, like we've been getting together.
So you want to put together a committee?
We're going to put on some more people from the community
Okay.
that will help us. But I do not want to put someone on a committee and then tell them, no, you can't do it because you're on a committee.
It can't be somebody who's going to be seeking.
Right,
funds.
that
Yeah.
could be seeking funds.
So can we request that a specialty court judge be on this committee?
Me and Doug will have that conversation. But my thing is, I don't want to make sure that we don't exclude anybody that's eligible for the money that's on the committee and then say, well, it's unethical. How did she get the money and we didn't on that? And that's what I don't want to see. Why did y'all give to person X and she sits on the board and I'm over here needing the same funds? And that's my only thing. We just got to make sure we cross every T and dot every I.
So there's not a committee, it's just a team.
Right now, it's just.
Right now, my team is on this. We are going to put more to this.
I have one here.
So Melissa, I have a question as
Yes.
well. I mean, besides the obvious liability issues that we face, I'm concerned, not worried, because we have a great attorney working for us. But I just wanted to say, yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say, as everyone else did, thank you for doing this. I'm concerned about the decreasing amount that we keep getting in the last 4 years. That amount has decreased less than half of what we originally got.
Well, some of our payments come in May. So I anticipate we'll be about the same as we were like I told you guys, the first payments came in, there were 3 years worth. The 222,000, that was 3 years worth. That's why I told you guys that, because
Okay.
it is less now. And I anticipate about $118,000 a year right now, unless we sign more agreements, and then it will be more. But we have some payments that come in May from a couple of the other lawsuits. The first ones still come in December, and that's the first amount you saw. And then some of every lawsuit is different. So some of the payments come in May.
Will there be a timetable of when the committee is formed and when the funds are being released?
You guys will approve the spending of the funds through the budget process. So this year, you're going to have an operating budget, a capital budget, an MRA budget, and an opioid budget. So you will have to approve a new budget this year.
Yes.
So anyone who's requested funds already, this is why they haven't received them.
Yes, we haven't spent any of the funds because council must approve all appropriation
y'all
of
gotta approve.
funds.
I'm asking questions that's been asked to me from people in this audience, and so I want you to answer to them.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, we can't spend funds without council approval. That's a Kentucky statute.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Melissa?
Thank you.
I got one
Thank you.
question, Ms. Melissa.
Yes.
How much are we working with the county on this? Because I know they're receiving money also.
I believe the county has their own process. I was asked to contact Natalie Powell over there, who's their treasurer, and ask her for kind of what they're doing as they have their own process, is what I've been told. But we haven't really reached out to them until this week.
But the judge, me and him have conversations on this, and we've reached out to the county attorney too, because he's working on it too with the county on that. So.
Any other questions for Melissa? Go ahead.
I want to say thank you for your dedication to this community and your hard work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lauren Carr, and I serve as the Opioid Settlement Advisor for the Kentucky Association of Counties. Thank you for allowing me to come here tonight. Some of this stuff is going to be a duplicate, so I will probably speed through it. But what my goal is to do is to share what is happening around the state and how these funds can be utilized. I can't begin my story without sharing my story. So I lost my brother to a fentanyl overdose in 2011, before fentanyl was talked about, before drug overdoses were a thing. And unfortunately, my head was in the sand with misconceptions like, why can't he just stop? Why can't he stop using? And it had to take that for me to understand and open my eyes and realize that the barriers that were with him. And so I've dedicated my career for the last 15 years to working in this. And so I come from Western Kentucky as well, in a small community of Mayfield, Graves County, and where I worked in an ASAP, an Agency for Substance Abuse Prevention, and my fiscal agent was my fiscal court. And so that's kind of what merged that relationship. And then when the opioid settlement funds came, our county was experiencing a natural disaster, and they turned to our coalition to kind of help them guide the way. I could tell you everything about prevention, treatment, harm reduction, but opioid settlement and litigation, I'm not a lawyer. So I turned and I was selected to serve on NACO's Opioid Solutions Leadership Network with 30 other officials across the country. And so I've been engaged in this process for the last several years. Again, overview, we have about $1 billion coming into. Now, 50% does go to the Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission. The one thing I do want to say is that any entity can apply for those funds. That is a grant-funded process. It does not have to be from the local government. Anybody with a good standing with the Secretary of State can apply for those funds. Last year, they released about $18 million, and it went to 172 community-based organizations. Some are some are local health departments, some are county governments, but a lot of them are the boots on the ground doing the work. Now, the 50% does go directly to local governments. It doesn't go past through the state. And this is the first time in ever any kind of settlement agreement that funds come directly from the state. Now, directly from the settlement agreement. Even with the tobacco settlement, it funneled through the state and then funneled through the local governments. Funds have to be spent in accordance to the statute and Exhibit E. And so here's some principles. So there's about $50 billion that's coming nationwide. So there's a lot of eyes on these dollars. And so Johns Hopkins University, over 50 academia and professionals kind of made up of guiding practice of how to utilize these funds. The first is spend money to save lives. Try to avoid supplantation, things that you are already paying for. Use evidence to guide spending. We have things that have worked and things that have not. So utilize that evidence to guide spending. Invest in youth prevention. That has a very good return on investment. For every $1 that you spent, it's a return of $17. Focus on racial equity. In Kentucky, Black Kentuckians are dying of a higher overdose rate than any other demographic. And so really focus on those hot spots and how you can target those that are most impacted. And develop a fair and transparent process of how you spend these funds. There's a lot of eyes on these dollars. There's a lot of rules and regulations, but a lot of people see this as blood money. A lot of people know that these dollars would not have come to the community if people's lives were not lost. And so that's why I'm passionate about it, and many other people are as well. Again, there's your definition of opioid remediation. And the PowerPoint has clickable links, so I highly encourage you all to look at that. Exhibit E, so the KRS statute is very legalese, I call it, but Exhibit E it's over 16 pages and 100 different ways of how these funds can be utilized. And I think that it's a really digestible way. Now, at the end of the day, it's a non-exhaustive list. So that is something that the local governments, as long as you can tie that back to the opioid remediation and you have that need. So the allowable uses, these are the 9 core strategies of the allowable uses. Everything from naloxone to medications for opioid use disorder, expanding warm handoff programs, treatment for the incarcerated populations. And I'm going to kind of go into those a little deeper and also share what I'm seeing around the state. So again, those 5 buckets, those allowable uses. And so what we are seeing in Kentucky for prevention can be everything from media campaigns to partnering with local school mentoring groups. Just Say Yes is a program that kind of helps children that are impacted by reducing that barrier. That's something that's happening in Franklin County. And so here are the definitions. And so you can see, I'm not going to read it to you, but here are all the things that you can utilize these funds for. And so I have a flyer from my community of just showing an example of a drug take back day. So prevention goes even further deeper when you get into schools and youth. And so focusing on youth-based programs, evidence-based programs. What we have seen in some communities is like, so say they have prevention programming in the middle school. Well, for example, Monroe County and Pike County, they utilize their opioid settlement funds to bring that prevention down to the elementary school. So they're getting prevention education in elementary school. And so those are things that can be done. And the commission, which is that big long acronym, the KYOAAC, that is housed in the Attorney General's office, and they are the regulators of these funds. So they kind of set the stage. And so one of the things that anything that they fund is fundable. So things that are, I don't want to say that you don't have to talk to a kindergarten kid about not using opioids. It might be more about risk factors or bullying or resiliency skills. And so really kind of thinking about prevention as a whole and a child with ACEs is adverse childhood experiences and combating that with PACEs. So counties and so those are those passive Narcan boxes that can be placed out in the community. A hub type model approach is just kind of a one-stop shop of a service. Sometimes they're held, some of them are within the health departments, but they offer classes, job resumes, all that kind of stuff for people in recovery. And then a QRT is a post-overdose response team. So a quick response team. Get confused with the word team because that kind of makes it sound like, but it's a community team. So you might have individual law enforcement and peer supports, and then when an overdose happens, somebody can follow up with that. So that is what a quick response team is. Now, preventing naloxone and overdose deaths, one of the things that I do want to say is that naloxone is free in the state of Kentucky. Any agency can order it. So if your agency is going to spend money on naloxone, I would highly recommend getting it free from the state. Now, what you can do to still support naloxone is naloxone distribution. So making sure that it's in the hands of the people that need it. So that is even leave behind programs and EMS and those different things. So you might not have to pay for the naloxone, but maybe a tie bag or different things like that cost funds. As long as they go to support that effort, these funds can be utilized for that. And so here's all the different things. Again, preventing harm, supporting syringe service programs, funding mobile units, training healthcare providers, counties in action for treatment. One of the things that you all don't have a jail, so that's usually when counties, that is a big burden on them. But a lot of cities have been funding police social workers. So Northern Kentucky has about 17 in the state. Georgetown, Bardstown, Paducah Police Department. Sometimes they're called deflection specialists. Sometimes they're called police social workers, but they're a co-response model. So they go with individuals that are experiencing a crisis that is SUD related, and SUD is substance use disorder related. And so it tries to connect those people to care and out of the judicial system. Again, addressing the needs of the criminally justice involved, you can see all the things there. So it can help from pretrial diversion to that co-response model, different things like that. Treatment for the incarcerated population. So these funds can help expand those treatment. And for example, providing more wraparound services for individuals that are incarcerated. Recovery support, counties in action. So different recovery supports could, that you see is a picture of a pro-social group called YPR, that's Young People in Recovery. It's a gathering to where individuals can support each other and have that community. Recovery backpacks have been fundable on a city and county level, and that's just like backpacks for individuals that are transitioning either out of jail or out of a sober living home or different things like that, that has some resources in naloxone and different things. So there's all the words on there. Again, I think that this is a little bit repetitive, so I don't want to spend too much time. Leadership, planning, and coordination. So these are some ideas of how you can do that. So that is having a steering committee, providing resources to staff for the oversight of managing the opioid settlement funds, and developing proposals and things like that. So some pictures of some counties in action. And okay, local government funding. How are local governments approaching these funding projects directly within their municipality? For example, ones that are expanding their programs in jail, or they're hiring somebody at the law enforcement, the police department. Some are spending funds that way. Others are distributing funds in an RFP process. So having a template, accepting applications, and then granting out funds. Probably something similar to the Hoptown Helps. You can have a set amount, and then you accept funds and you grant those funds out there. But I would say that a majority of the local governments have not spent dollars yet. That is, majority of the local governments have not spent funds. I get asked daily, are they going to change how we can spend these funds? Is this like ARPA funds? Are they going to loosen the regulations? The answer to that is no. This is a settlement agreement. So unless the settlement changes, you have to spend the funds in accordance to the settlement agreement. So one of the things that we recommend is having a settlement council, so that can kind of take the pressure off the council or the fiscal court for making those decisions, and having that include people with lived experience, people that have been impacted by opioid use disorder, public health professionals, primary prevention, school, treatment, recovery resources. And I know that every community is sometimes as small and wears many hats. And so we have not only guidance on this, but we also have like a conflict of interest, because we know that there might be organizations that might be a voice on it, but also support XYZ. And so we have those materials and all that stuff available. The reporting requirements. Now this is kind of like what Melissa had stated, but instead of quarterly reporting, it's now due annually, but they're going to ask details. So they want to know how these funds are being spent and who they are impacting. Now, the big thing about this, I talked about earlier, but the Attorney General has called this funds blood money. All this information is going to be public and transparent on a dashboard. So the commission, that KYOOC, that big acronym, they're July 1st of this year, they're going to be importing all the local reporting on the dashboard. So you can go and click on your county and see how much your county has received to date and the projects that they have spent. I say that that is really important, and we are talking to our members and local governments, because this is an opportunity to be able to tell your story, to be able to share what you're doing with these funds and how they are making a difference. And so you can kind of see the process measures and stuff that has to be taken that goes on that report. Just some resources. Again, this is all clickable links, but NACO has some resources on there, some ideas, some quick guides, some different things of. We have resources as well. We have a template We have an application template. We have an MOU template, because that was one of the first things was we're afraid if we give ABC recovery money, an ABC MOU template that local governments can use. And that way you can grant out funds and that have that real little reassurance. They have a bunch of different links on there. We host webinars, and all of that is recorded and placed on there. That is, again, just our resources. That is our resource of our settlement council, of kind of why to build that team, why it's important, how to tell your story, and how a settlement council can really help local governments in figuring out how to utilize these funds. And that is me, and this is what I do. And so I sped through that really fast because there was a lot of duplicate information, but I'm here to answer any questions that you all may have. I can talk about how other local governments are spending their funds, any questions that you all have, open to it.
How and when would you recommend that we form an advisory committee for this?
So advisory committees are, that I highly recommend them just because it gets more people on the table to not only the department heads is great, but also having people that are working in the field and the boots on the ground. They can really bring in a different perspective, especially people with lived experience, showing that what would have helped them while they were in active addiction. And it also gives them an opportunity to play a part in this role. Yes.
So you have been at this for a number of years and you have gained a lot of different experiences. I'm coming to you. I want to invest in this, okay, with this money. What is, based on your experience, what's the best place for us to put this money? If you could only put it in one, where would you put it? Because if you put it everywhere, you make no impact. What's going to make the biggest impact in our community?
I think that everybody is looking for a silver bullet, or like what is the cure, what is the best thing. And unfortunately, that is all on a local needs. And I can't tell you what is the best for your community, but I wouldn't discourage the importance of planting seeds. So one of the things that these settlement funds can do is meet unmet needs in the community. So whether that means individuals that are in drug court and they need to transition to a house because if they go back to the same house, they might end up back in the same thing, and they can really help people. And that's what these funds are really to do, is to help people and not hurt people.
What are other ways that the specialty courts can utilize the funds? Because we've been working together since last year in August, and we've been talking pretty frequently, mostly every day. You had told me a few weeks ago about transportation. Will you discuss that as well for the specialty courts?
Yes. So some specialty courts some counties have purchased a van, purchased a 15-passenger van to help with transportation. Some are doing ride vouchers, different things like that. That is all something. And when you kind of have that counsel and you can look at that approach, one of the metrics that we look at is the Recovery Ready Community Assessment. It's just kind of an assessment that looks at all your things that you have. I tell local governments, highlight what you have, circle what you don't, and then you can add to it. Help those issues. So transportation is a huge barrier in many counties.
And I probably misunderstood you. Can private entities apply for the state grant money?
Yes.
So these agencies that are here don't have to wait for us. They could be applying for these state monies now. Is that correct?
The grant process is not open. It's closed right now. I don't work for the commission, but I would assume by what they've done the last 2 years that the grant process would open in October.
Okay.
And the funding, they're going to make the announcement on April 21st of this year.
So they could be starting their grant process. I don't know if maybe y'all already knew that. I didn't know that. And while we're still getting everything together, what we need to do, what I'm saying is if you all didn't know, make note, because they're saying there's, $500 million at the state level that you all have the opportunity to apply for a piece of that. At the same time, the funds that the city has to figure out how we're going to do that said, don't wait, go apply. Like, I didn't know that till tonight. So hearing that was a big thing because, yeah, get on it. Let me ask this, Mayor.
Yep.
And I'm sure all the different agencies here probably have great grant writers.
Mhm.
But I know a lot of agencies, it's hard to get people to write grants.
Correct.
Is there a way that the city could have a partnership to help an agency write a grant? Where they're, in other words, we're partnering with them, not necessarily for the money that we're holding, but to help them get the money from the state, which just improves our community.
That, or we can help do that. We have a grant writer on staff too. So if we need some help with the grant writing, we can help do that. But we'll go through Ms. Clayton's office. She has Ms. Babb in her office that writes grants every day. Or we can go over to Pat, see Jason, and she writes grants and he has a lady over there writes grants every day too. But we can help them with that on both sides.
Like, I didn't mean to spring that on you at once. It's just brainstorming all of a sudden when I heard that, because I had no idea that was an option. And I think I don't know if anybody else knew that. So.
So I thought I heard that the grants for these agencies or the call them, had to come through the city.
They
No.
No.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Not for the state portion of grants. You just have to be good
Okay.
standing with the Secretary of State.
There's
City
two different
money.
pots of
That's
money.
good.
Two different pots
Of
of money.
course, we understand that.
Yeah.
We're understanding that the money that was coming from the state's money, their 50% had to come through the city too. I thought I heard that. Okay, all right, good.
And just for those that are interested in going that route, can they double dip? Can they apply for, say, whatever we come up with for the city? Can they get money from both? And I'm only asking as devil's advocate, like,
So one of the things that the commission is asking for is if you have local support in your grant application, it's asking if you have local support, because that means that you have local buy-in. So
Right.
now you can't say that you want to ask for an ABC this on this grant and ask for the same thing on that grant. That would be double dipping, and the city reports to the same as the grantees report, so they would see that.
But they could be two different same agency, two different projects.
Yes, two different projects, two different things. Sometimes, like the commission does not fund out, they do not grant out vehicles or buildings or anything like that because they do a one-year grant and it's hard to have it utilized for the period of time. So that's one of the things that on a local level, you can make those decisions and do that.
Can we put a cap on the funds
Yes.
that are requested?
So some examples of what local governments have done is one local government was getting a lot of pressure to utilize these funds, and so they had just about $60,000 in interest, and they put that out for an RFP. And so whether that is X amount or that's all a local decision of whatever monies you want to put out. But there are several agencies that are in that application process because sometimes this doesn't necessarily fall into the local government's realm. Like it's, we all bring different things to the hats, but sometimes it doesn't fit neatly. And so it's been difficult to try to educate. And again, if this money, it's not going to change of how you can spend it.
One more question. Do organizations have to be state certified in order to request the funds, like treatment centers or?
So, yes, it is recommended that they are in good standing, especially for recovery houses. There is a KRS that makes sure that all recovery houses are certified. So we don't recommend anybody granting out funds to agencies that are not certified.
any other questions? Thank you so much, Ms. Carr.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Lauren.
Quarterly Public Works Department report, Toby Hudson.
Good evening. Here you guys. Let me get this started here. Okay, I have the opportunity to give our year-end review for Parks and Recreation for 2025 and just some upcoming events that are taking place this year. So at the core, this is not the entire verbiage, but at the core, our mission is to make Hopkinsville a better place to live, play, connect, safe. We have welcoming parks and programs for everyone. That is at the core of what we do. So everything that you see that comes from our department will follow those lines right there at its core. Just by the numbers, I'm going to break some things down just by the numbers this year, or I'm sorry, last year in 2025. Our Parks and Recreation side of things had 32 programs or events, 10 tournaments, baseball, softball, tournaments at Tiebreaker Park. And we had 18 assists of events. And what that is any time that we come in and help somebody else in our community set up for an event or any type of labor that we may do, that's part of that. So that was 18. Our rentals for all of our facilities for Parks and Recreation on our side of things was 593 rentals, which is a pretty good number for us. And then our estimated attendance for our events that we've had last year were 86,500. That is an estimated attendance for us. Those are our numbers for Parks and Recreation. If we switch over to the Sportsplex, you'll see a little bit different numbers there. We actually had 14 events last year, 7 leagues that we maintained or that we put on ourselves, 26 tournaments that happened throughout the facility last year, 489 rentals of the facility last year, and then an estimated attendance at the Sportsplex of 140,000 patrons. Obviously here, this is not, hold on, there we go. 2025 by the numbers, this is the number that's been out there. We've had it for a while. This is just how Tiebreaker Park Bluegrass Splash ended up for last year. Our attendance last year was 38,442, which gives us a daily average attendance of 468.8. Out of town guests, that's the number everybody always looks at. Out of town is 78.8%. We had actually 82 days of operation, with 9 days being partial days due to weather, and we had 4 days of non-operation, weather related. Let me get back here to my. So that's kind of a synopsis of 2025 of our numbers by the numbers for 2025. Now for 2026, our upcoming events, and just for this year, Parks and Recreation has 52 events on our schedule. Some of the new things you'll see is a downtown entertainment district. We'll be working with them, downtown entertainment events. You'll be seeing more of us in that capacity. We've picked that up this year. Also, the America's 250th Celebration Red, White, and Ooh Festival has now been restructured, and we're looking at something different for 2026. So those are some new things that you'll be seeing this year, and just a few of the list of items that we've got coming up, or list of events that we've got coming up. On April 3rd, we've got the Whopper of an Egg Hunt at Tiebreaker Park. April 23rd, we have our first Hoptown Nights, which is the downtown events, downtown entertainment part of things. We'll have that on the 23rd. June 1st to July 24th, we'll have our Summer Adventure Day Camp. So if you're interested in that, things are beginning to come out here shortly. So be watching out for that. And then some of our signatures, September 11th and 12th is our Summer Salute Festival in downtown Hopkinsville this year. October 16th and 17th is our half marathon and 5K. And December 12th is our Christmas parade, our annual Christmas parade and tree lighting. I'm not in the mode. There we go. Boy, I got that. There we go. And then for the Sportsplex 2026, they have 38 events, list of activities for the year. Some of the new things you'll see for them is they're going to be programming some adult basketball leagues themselves. They're going to be picking that up. That's going to be a new thing for them there. Basketball tournaments, the actual tournaments on the weekend. We'll be again picking some of those up in-house and working through and programming those. A few of the upcoming events for them, March 20th, this week actually, the Leprechaun Classic Wrestling Tournament will be out there. It is a one-day event. This has 2 days. It It has been cut down to a one-day event this year. They also have a kid camp, summer day camp. I know you've probably seen some of that around town, some of those flyers around town. June 8th to July 31st, they'll have a kid camp there. And then July 11th, some of their signatures, the Christmas in July Craft and Vendor Fair will be back again this year. October 15th, we'll begin our Junior Pro at the Plex. And October 24th will be the holiday Hoopla Craft and Vendor Fair. So that is just a brief, very, 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 very brief synopsis of our department and where we've been and where we're going this year. So couldn't do it without all these people. These are the ones that make it up. These guys work tirelessly to make things happen in Hopkinsville, and we appreciate each and every one of them. I know I do personally, and our community should too. They do a lot of work, and they keep everything going. So that is pretty much my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be more than good to entertain them now.
All right, put you on the spot, Toby.
Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, Melissa too, I guess. Melissa, what does it cost the city for the Sportsplex for us to keep it running? Are we making, or where are we about on that? Up your head.
I don't know. I can send you a report.
Go about what it is?
I have to pull
That's what I
exact.
was going to put you on the spot.
I'd have to pull some exacts, but I can find it for you.
You're good, because I'm going to ask you, my next thing's going to put you on the spot. Stays pretty busy, my
Yes.
perception.
Yes.
Sportsplex stays constant.
Constant, yes.
I'm curious what we're having to turn away. And my question is, had that place been twice the size, would we been filling it
Yes,
just as often?
yes. I think it was twice the size you do, yes. I believe that. It also opens up a lot of other opportunities for us. Larger tournaments, more prestigious tournaments, can I say? You know, your regionals, some bigger your regionals, your nationals, you know, some of those bigger things, because you have more hard court access as well as soft turf. I mean, you have more of that access, which allows, obviously, organically, it allows more people in bigger.
The reason I
events.
ask is I can't tell you how many people in town, out of state, asking about that center and talking about how nice it is. My kids are obviously grown and through college and out of sports now, but to hear the feedback coming in, and when I go out there for different events for people I know and stuff like that, it's always doing something.
Yes.
That's why I was asking about the money part. To me, it seems like a potential to be a generator versus the opposite effect that the water park has.
Yes, it
at
is.
some point. And it just, so I was kind of curious of the perspective from you, what that looks like.
I do think if we did expand that, it would fill itself organic. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind.
Mr. Henson has said if we would come up with a way to put in another turf, it would be full. You know, I've heard from Troy that when they put it in, Carter said we should have made it bigger as soon as we got it started on that back there. But, you know, Carter and them did a great thing with what they did. But it would generate more money. It does generate money on that. You know, we and Tony talk about it. I've talked to him a few times. How do we make it bigger? How do we expand it? How do we make it more easier on your concession stand? You know, we've moved pizza ovens around. We've done everything, to make that work.
Track it like we do the water park
Far as
usage.
yes, oh yes,
Local
absolutely.
versus out of town.
Probably yes.
Because
I don't have those numbers in front of me, but
I mean, it's a great point to say 71% come in town.
yes.
It's also a bad point because we argue the other side of that is, well, then 100% of our citizens pay the tax
Right.
for 71% of the people not
come
from
into
here
this.
coming. So both sides of that, I'm curious, do we track it there? You said,
Yes,
like we do water park.
I can find that, yes.
That's the thing.
Any other questions? Thank you. Sounds like you have
Thank you, ma'am.
homework.
I'm sorry?
I said, it sounds like you have homework.
Oh, just a little bit. It won't take long.
Thank you so much. Amanda Brunt for an information technology update.
Good evening. I'm going to do a quick update with you all on 3 major projects that I went over the last time we did this update. so we can just inform you where we are in those projects. And then I've also got, for our AI committee, I'm going to invite Cody Brim. He's our policy analyst, just to give you a quick overview of that and introduce you guys to him and just see the work that he's been doing along with the AI committee. But to kick things off, before I go into the projects, I wanted to address a couple of issues that we had this weekend during the storms. One issue is 911 and our EOC, or the 1300, our non-emergency number went down. So of course, in a storm like that, or anytime 911 goes down, we wanted to address the issue, see what the issue was, and here's what we found. Whenever we have generators in all of our buildings, we have for years. Whenever the generator kicks on, there's a 4-second lag, about 4 seconds between when the power goes off and the generator picks up. And in all of our devices, we've got what we call UPSs, battery backup devices, and those carry over those 4 seconds. So that for the user, there really is no downtime. So all of our equipment has those devices and worked as it should, but we found that the equipment on the AT&T device did not, and that's where the breakdown was. So Sarah Dragu immediately contacted AT&T. We've been working with them this week. She was actually at their office today in person, and then we had a technician in the office today. We believe that has been resolved, so that shouldn't be a problem in the future. We do conduct generator tests every week on Tuesday, so if it comes up again, we'll know it. And so I'm not sure why it happened during the storm, or if it was just a UPS fail with that particular device, but we are continuing. We do test that on a regular basis, and that has been resolved. So please assure your constituents we are on top of it to ensure that we do have access to our emergency services, especially during emergency situation. So if you get a question on that, please assure them of that. There was another issue with our radios going out during that time, and I believe emergency management, after resetting the tower at Jenny Stewart, the radios were back online. So there's also a meeting on Monday or Tuesday of next week to address that and talk through that to see what we can do to prevent that as well in the future. So I'm going to dig really deep really quickly, not deeply, into these projects, just give you an overview of where we stand. One of our major projects we're working on is our network switch replacement. Just to recap, this is all of our devices, computers, copiers, phones, camera, everything goes through our network switches. And so this is a grant that we received from Kentucky Office of Homeland Security to replace all of these. Several of them are old. When they get old, we start to have issues. And if a switch goes down, then you have no internet. Whoever's connected to that is no longer connected to the network. So it's important to get those replaced. We have installed one at Station 3. We found out there was a little bit of a blip between getting the switch to talk to HES, but the masterminds behind it were able to collaborate. We got that working. We're going to start with Public Works next week, and it should be a pretty quick process from there on out. We're expecting to have that completed by May, or within the month of May. As far as our Cisco phone system upgrades, last year we updated our desk phones. This year we're updating the software for those phones. This is a pretty complicated process as well. Several vendors are involved in this. One of the vendors has upgraded their software, so we have to make sure it's compatible with the other vendors. If it's not, we have a plan B. But this will also be finished within the fiscal year, but we're working through that as well. And the same vendor who's doing our network replacement is also doing our Cisco phone system, which is beneficial to us because the projects marry together. It's all very integrated together. So we're working through that, and the project is coming along. And then our disaster recovery project, I said last time, if a building is destroyed, if we had unlimited money, we could throw all the money at it and build a building. But if we lose our data is gone. So it's very important that we have structures in place, that all of the data we have within the city is safe and secure, and we have backups so that if the servers go down for whatever reason, we have our information stored somewhere else. So this project was a very important project that you all funded, and we have all of the equipment here. We're going to start installation, or we've already started programming, and installation I think is going to start next week. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. And that just gives me the peace of mind that all of the data we have is going to be safe and secure, and we've got backup plans. So looking forward, I did want to touch on one thing we had happen this week. It's been a very eventful weekend and a very eventful Monday and Tuesday. So of course, we had the events over the weekend where the phone system went down and then the radios went down, and we got all that fixed. Everything's back up. We've identified the issues. Monday morning, one of the switches at the PD went down. So PD admin was having a little bit of issues, but we rectified that issue. And then one of the switches downstairs at City Hall went down. And again, it's an old switch, and I think our battery backups on that system, they need to be replaced as well. So we were looking through that. But the issue we found was, and we're finding it to be common, is when City Hall went down here, that main switch, well, the internet across the city went down. And so we're looking forward now. That switch obviously is a priority switch. We're going to get that replaced. But we're looking beyond that because we want to have an infrastructure where everyone is not just dependent on this building. If this building were to go, or if our switch goes down here, I want to ensure that the PD fire station, everyone else is still operable. So we're looking at resiliency plans there and how we can structure that. And so I'm telling you that now just to plant that seed, because that is not going to be an easy process. It's going to be a longer process. There's a lot of strategy that goes behind that. There's going to be money that's going to need to go into that. But I do feel strongly that, and I'm sure you would too, that it's a better structure. This structure that we are under now fit one time, but we have many facilities across the city now, and we need to take a look at that and build a structure that makes sense so that when the switch downstairs goes awry on a Tuesday morning, everyone's not affected. So we are making sure that we can get all of that. We are putting plans in place, and we may be talking to you about that in the future. So when I come to the table, you'll know where that's stemming from. Any questions on what I've talked about? Yes, ma'am.
So for a project like that, I mean, we've been talking about grant money. I mean, is there grant money for anything like this?
Well, there was
Updating?
grant money for the switches.
That's
so
what I mean, I don't know. I guess
I think
that's
there's
something-
money out there for anything. And so I think if you can think of it, we could probably, I'll investigate that. and
You'll
see
look
what we
into
can
that?
find.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. I'll work on that.
Any other questions for Amanda?
All right, I'm going to introduce you to Cody Brim. He is our policy analyst, just to give you a quick overview of what we've done as an AI committee.
Thank you, Amanda. This is my last slide, or our last slide. I will try to make this last as long as possible. So we created an AI advisory committee about 6 months ago. And as Amanda has mentioned before, this advisory committee is created through the city and through the administration, but is formally created to take a proactive look at AI, to make sure we're not behind things, to make sure we're taking a proactive look to be able to confirm on laws and things like that that are coming down the chain, make sure the city is using it ethically and correctly and appropriately. So first, what we did as a committee was survey city staff and find out first how they were using it, if they were using it appropriately, what ideas they had to use AI in the future of the city, and if they had any ethical concerns as well. From that point, we started drafting an AI policy. So with this AI policy, it has now formally been adopted as an administrative order. So that is now the AI policy for the city, and that gives us a pathway across all departments to make sure we're using it appropriately, ethically, but also efficiently, and using it to cut costs and operationally. After the AI policy was adopted, we partnered and contracted with an AI company called Darwin AI. And this company has allotted us 2 different tools to use for AI. The first one is cybersecurity and governance, and that allows us to monitor AI usage in the city so that we can find out if it's being used appropriately, again, and ethically, and what kind of AI tools are being utilized. So that allows us to monitor those things. The second tool that they give us is called Launchpad, which is basically 3 workflows that we can build out through AI. So this is taking redundant tasks and automating them through AI, saving time, again, and money. We've also partnered with Innovate US, which is a nonprofit that works with cities and counties all over the country to provide AI training specifically for public professionals, so for city government officials. We have partnered with them and have created a splash page and entry page for them, and then have put our policy into that as well. So we'll be pushing that in the next couple of weeks to provide training, baseline training for all city staff. We continue to meet as a committee about monthly to, again, go over legislative pieces that are coming down from the state or from the federal level, keeping an eye on news. Obviously, AI moves very fast. So keeping an eye on what's going on, what's new at the state level, what's new at the national level. And then if there's any ethical concerns that come up in the city, we talk about those. We look at the policy and see if we need to make any revisions to that as well. We have a lot of the committee members here tonight, I believe all of them, and we have departments or representation from each department that you can see on the slide there. So if you guys have any questions, that's what we've been doing as an AI team so far.
Can you explain what ethical AI is?
The official definition?
Yes, sir. Throw it out there.
The appropriate use of AI, I mean, it's using it, especially in the public sector, right? That's the ethical piece of this. In the public sector, it's using it to benefit residents in an appropriate manner without utilizing it in a biased way, I guess is the best definition I can give.
Fair enough.
A lot of AIs that provide biases, so we do watch out for those too.
Thank you.
I'll look up the definition after this, the textbook definition. If anybody else has any questions on AI?
Appropriate is a very objective term. So what is an example of inappropriate, just for my wandering mind?
Sure, yeah, so something that Darwin does, again, it allows us to monitor the usage of AI. So we can find out what tools are being utilized in the city. So one piece of that is using the correct tools. So if there's a tool that may be coming from a foreign entity like China or Russia, things like that, ensuring that those are not being utilized. But then it's also what they put into AI. So you've probably heard not to put in PII or personal identifying information into AI. So social security numbers, bank accounts, things like that. We ensure that that does not happen either. This tool allows us to block that usage and then also notifies us if somebody is doing that. So we can go out and train that specific topic. So those would be a couple ways that, yeah, we're
Thank
using
you,
it
because that
appropriately.
was, I mean, I'm over here just, wandering mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that definitely answered that question. Any other questions? Thank you so much,
All right,
Cody.
thanks.
Okay, up next is unfinished business. We have none, so we're going to move on to new business. Small Business Commission recommendations. Mr. Landon Stallings.
Give Vance an opportunity
Oh,
to give his monthly
I'm so sorry.
agency board council appointing report.
Good second.
1 second.
One moment.
My bad. Okay, monthly, I'm so sorry, Mr. Vance. Monthly agency board council appointee, Ward 1. Mr. Vance, take it away. Oh, okay.
Oh, well, then there you go.
Okay, in that case, Mr. Stallings, I apologize. We would love to have you back up here.
All right, this won't take long anyway, so we'll make it quick, but good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. My name's Landon Stallings. I'm here representing the Small Business Commission as a member of that. And also I grew up in a small family business myself, still working that today also, and also work with small businesses every day in my role as a lender at Planters Bank. But so the Small Business Commission was established to try to find ways to make a positive impact on small businesses in our community and to make doing business in Hopkinsville easier for those small businesses. So one thing we as a commission have identified and we'd like the council to consider are the business privilege license fees. So currently the minimum renewal fee, which is based on net profit, is $250. The Small Business Commission is recommending this fee be lowered to $100. Additionally, currently any business with gross receipts of $25,000 or less are not required to pay a fee at all. And we, as the Small Business Commission, are recommending this fee be $25. So for comparison, we looked at other cities in the state that are comparable to Hopkinsville. And not only were we the highest at $250, but significantly higher than most other cities. So we looked at Bowling Green, their minimum fee is $30. Elizabethtown, $25. Madisonville, $25. Owensboro, $75. Paducah, $35. And Lexington is at $100. So, and looking at this, lowering this fee to $100 would currently impact approximately 1,200 small businesses here in Hopkinsville. Thinking about it's based on net profit. So these are the small businesses in our community that need the help the most. Maybe they're new, just starting out, or maybe they're struggling. So we as a commission thought this would directly impact the businesses in our community and give these businesses a better chance at long-term success. We think this is a way that the city can help make Hopkinsville a little bit more small business friendly. So, and a step towards helping our current businesses and encourage growth through new small businesses that may come to Hopkinsville. So glad to answer any questions that you may have.
So we can discuss it. I'd like to make a motion to pass it on to council.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving it on to council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lewis Hopper, electrical permits and inspection fees.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lewis Hopper. I'm one of your 6 approved electrical inspectors for Hopkinsville, Christian County. I'm the only one that lives here in Christian County. The rest of them live in other counties. One lives in Trigg, and the rest of them all live either in Union County or McCracken County. And it's been 10 years since they raised the rates for electrical inspectors, and everything else has went up in that time. And they have asked me if I would do it, come and ask, make a request to city council that they raise the rates here. Any questions, I'll answer them for you. It's my understanding you have a copy of what the rates are and what they're proposed to be raised to. Anybody have any questions for me?
I'll make a motion. We forward this to council.
Second.
So the question I had for Mr. Willen earlier today, the only change in this is the rates. There's no other change.
Everything else.
Any other questions? Okay.
I do have another question.
Go ahead, Mr. Crabtree.
Okay. We just passed a motion to send the small business to reduce those fees. And now we're coming back and we're asking to increase other fees. I don't understand that, and it's nothing to do with you. I don't understand that from a city standpoint. It seems like we ought to get ourselves on the same page and do a consolidated thing, whether it's up, down, right, left. I don't know.
I think they're 2 totally separate things.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck, I know it's going to come as a shock. I think I agree with you. Because I'll go even further. I kind of just said because I figured we'd have more discussion at council for the first thing that came up here. But we also sat here a month ago and had them come in and speak to us about the housing issue and shortage.
Mhm.
Look, we're putting one and one together, right? This raises that. This works the opposite of what we're saying, right? This increases that. I understand what he's saying. They haven't had
Oh, I
those
get
increases
it.
in 10 years.
10
They
years.
probably need it, but I just want to make sure that we understand what we're saying. It's same thing with the first request that came up here. Net profit tax. That in essence is the same thing as a net profit tax, asking for which side of that you support. And I just wonder sometimes if we're putting one and one together. But it's just, it is interesting because it's the timing, I guess is what it is. We sit here and we had everybody come in about our housing shortage and all the problems, and this in essence is working against what we're saying we need to do to get housing in here. So.
So we have a motion on the floor to move this to council and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Hopper.
Thank you. Thank y'all for your time.
All right, item C, amend chapter 31.04 citizen participation. Mr. Doug Willen.
The last page of your packet, this is a very simple request. The request is to remove the requirement from this ordinance that citizens or other individuals that make public comment be required to provide their name and address. This would just require that they provide their name, but as a matter to protect personal privacy, that they will not be required any longer to provide their address. That's the only change.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Can we have a little discussion first?
Oh,
before we
yes.
vote?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I agree with the security issues that go along with persons not providing in public recordings, their addresses and so forth. Is there not some function that we can have via the clerk's office or someone that we can verify that they are city residents before they speak?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter, I don't think. I mean, yeah, I don't think it matters.
Right. Just so long as they qualify.
I mean, that's up to council. However what restrictions do you want to place in this ordinance?
I don't think we need to.
Brittany, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I did. Yesterday, I was trying to show someone who their council member was by using the 311 app, and their council member was Sumner. And so we can still see our addresses on the 311 app, even though it's been taken off of the website.
You can still see them?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Are there any other discussions for this? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. In other, we have nothing on the agenda. Does anybody have any comments they would like to make? All right. All right. For discussion, we need to go into closed session. Can I get a motion and a second?
We need, just for the record, this is going to be a discussion of economic development proposals under KRS 61.8101G.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, yes. All opposed, or I'm sorry. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
All, or any opposed?
Yeah, what's that?
Okay, we are now in closed session.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. No action was taken in closed session. Last item on the agenda is adjournment.
Second.
All in favor? Hallelujah.